Yo, what's up? I'm back with another reaction. So I just woke up. It's 12:01. Actually, I didn't wake up just now. I woke up about 2 hours ago. I'm gonna stream tonight. Tonight is still June 11th. It's 12:01 in the morning. I'm gonna stream probably right after I finish this reaction. But he dropped this video. The Nigerian Perspective dropped this video an hour ago called "The Tsaritsa Could Be Genshin's Last Real Hope or Prove It'll Never Beat Withering Waves." AKA, we're back at it again with complaining about the fact that Genshin Impact's gameplay is not like Withering Waves gameplay. And complaining that, oh, the depiction of characters' powers doesn't reflect the gameplay, despite the fact that's not fucking true. And I'm going to say this right now, Nigerian Perspective has a delusional view on how a powerful character can be depicted in any type of media. It don't matter if it's video game or not. He thinks powerful character needs to be blowing the fucking ground up or something like that. Things of that nature. Which is something I yapped about in the last video talking about this from the Nigerian Perspective a couple months ago. So we're back at it again with the same nonsense. And I bet he's going to show those same clips of half-assing showing Columbina's gameplay from that little, TikTok short that he found showing Columbina's gameplay of like her basic attack animation, not showing her coordinated attack, not showing her ultimate. Same thing with how he did with Nicole. Didn't show her coordinated attacks at all, which is a part of her gameplay, by the way. And depending on if you have hexerized characters in the team, those characters will appear in her coordinated attacks. Because he conveniently loves to do that. He loves doing that to prove his point, despite the fact it's off fucking base entirely. We are already come out the gate, being dishonest with what you're showing the viewer. So, just wanted to let that be clear. Let's go ahead and get this started.
A couple of weeks ago, Genshin Impact finally gave us our first teaser for Shinesnaya. And as anyone would expect, there was and honestly still is a lot of...
By the way, this video is a blatant doom post of fucking Genshin before the shit even drops for Shinesnaya, just to let that be clear.
Hype surrounding this review, as there should be. I mean, out of every region we've been through with Genshin Impact, I think it's safe to say that Shinesnaya is the single most anticipated region in the entire game. It has always had a massive presence ever since 1.0, from the first moment we started playing Genshin Impact, whether directly or indirectly. But beyond all of that, what truly gives Shinesnaya that extra layer of mystique, that edge over every single region in terms of how badly we want to explore it, is one single character. The Tsaritsa. I mean, it would not be a stretch to say that she's one of the most important characters in the entire game, arguably the single most important Archon, one of the biggest players in the story, one of the central pieces shaping the entire world of Teyvat. I mean, this is a character whose actions have affected us literally since the moment we started playing the game. And finally, in that Shinesnaya trailer Genshin Impact gave us, she was shown in all her glory. So now there's just one question we need to ask surrounding this reveal. How good a job did Genshin Impact do when it came to finally revealing the Tsaritsa? And even more importantly, how good a job did they do setting this review up? Because
they did a great job. If we're about to sit here and argue for the next 15 minutes that they didn't, I can't wait to slap whatever argument he's about to make down to the fucking floor.
Because here's the thing. Yes, the Tsaritsa is a character, but even more than that, she is also an idea, a belief, a concept that has been tied to Genshin Impact almost since the very beginning. She's become a central figure, not just in the game's lore, but even in conversations, theories, the massive debates the community has had over the years. So does this setup leading to a eventual review actually live up to everything we've imagined about this character? That's exactly what we're going to talk about.
The answer is yes. It's blatantly yes. If you come to an answer that's not yes, you're being dishonest. Or you're retarded because you did not pay attention to what the story and lore presented to us about the Tsaritsa this entire fucking time.
Talk about in this video. So if you're into this kind of content, make sure to leave a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of the Tsaritsa's reveal? And just as importantly,
I hope he's not about to play the same bullshit, two-faced, hypocritical, double standard ass logic that he did last time. Now, you may be wondering, what do I mean by that? I mean this. When Varka, Nicole, and Alice had finally appeared in Nocry's story, he sat here and tried to make the argument that their setup and whatnot wasn't good enough for when the character got revealed. It was underwhelming. He made that take a couple months ago. But then within the same video, or a video or two after that fact, he made a video talking about how it is so amazing that the Grand Architect was revealed to us in Withering Waves, despite the fact the Grand Architect, the information related to the Grand Architect was given to us both inside the game and outside the game, just like those three Genshin characters I just fucking mentioned. He propped up Withering Waves' Grand Architect for being lore drip feeded to us through name cards or whatever the fuck other piece of information, whether it be inside or outside the game. He praised that, but when it came down to Genshin, he sat here and said that it was underwhelming, despite the fact those characters had years of build up until their fucking reveal in the damn story. Just let that be clear before we move forward.
The way Genshin Impact built it up, did they absolutely nail it? Or do you still have some reservations? Tell me about that and more in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.
If you have reservations, you're literally being obtuse on purpose. Or you're really being blinded by your Genshin hate that you can't see blatantly good setup when it's in front of your fucking face.
Should be subscribed on any of my future videos. This video is sponsored by Buff.
I don't give a fuck. I give 2 fucks less. Let's go ahead and get started.
Get those resources you've been waiting for all this while. Once again, thank you Buff for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into it. See, I believe the Sarita, more than any other character in the entirety of Genshin Impact, is the character who has been put in the most difficult situation, especially from a design standpoint. I mean, like I said,
what? In what way in hell has she been put into a difficult position design-wise? Let's listen to this logic, or whatever this is. I say with air quotes. Let's listen. Let's listen.
Is the character who has been put in the most difficult situation, especially from a design standpoint. I mean, like I said at the start of this video, the amount of focus that has always been placed on this character has been absolutely immense. Because what Genshin Impact chose to do with her wasn't simply to make her a character we occasionally heard about or reference from time to time, like the Shades or the Heavenly Principles. No. Instead, the game turned the Sarita into a figure, a looming presence, a threat whose influence could be felt every single time the Fatui appeared on screen. And even more importantly, despite the fact that until recently, we had never actually seen anything about her, the game still managed to continually shape our perception of who this character is, and even more so, even how she may look like. I mean, think back to the early days of the game, whether we're talking about Signura's appearance in Mondstadt, where she openly threatened the Narcon, or Child's actions in Lear, where he unleashed a god that nearly led to the destruction of an entire nation, or the event in Inazuma, where the Fatui fanned the flames of war by supplying weapons and delusions to both sides of the conflict, something that realistically probably resulted in thousands, if not tens of thousands of additional deaths. I mean, simply by looking at the actions of the Fatui, we naturally begin to build a very distinct image of the Sarita herself. I mean, someone who is the head of these people who commit all these atrocities must be a tyrant, a psychopath even, or at the very least, someone who is plainly evil. Someone with...
No. Especially with the trailer revealed to us, we've always known that the Sarita has lost her love for her people. We're told this even before the game even came out. Let's do our homework, shall we? Don't worry, we gonna do this properly. We're not half-assing this. So let's look at this, shall we? Literally from 5 fucking years ago, the whole storyline contains spoilers. Is even written on the title of this fucking video. Let's listen to what they said about the Sarita, shall we?
We had no time to say goodbye.
Where is it? We're talking about the Sarita. Let's see. Natlan, and then here it is. Let's get this quality right.
She is a god with no love left for her people, nor do they have any left for her. Her followers hope only to be on her side when the day of her rebellion against the divine comes at last.
Okay, so from that one dialogue alone, we can get an idea of what the fuck the Sarita plans to do. Now, when this initially came out, we had no idea the reasons for why she may be doing this. Why she may be sending out her Fatui all across Teyvat to get their hands on the Gnosis. Right? No matter what they have to do to get their hands on it in some way, shape, or form. As long as they get it, that's all she cares about. And then we get the obvious trailer for her. Let me pull this up. Excuse this. I didn't remove this tab from the last time. That's my fault. Close that. Close that. All right. Let's do Genshin back. Oh, actually, the trailer should be here. If I just scroll, I'm probably gonna come across it if I just scroll. Okay, so I'm not coming across it as I scroll. So let me just. Click that. Not this one. Not that one. Here we go. Also, we had more in-game lore given to us about the Sarisa and about how she lost her lover. Right? That lover being the third descender. The third descender corpse was used to create the Gnosis. We all know this. And the Sarisa has been trying to get her hands on these Gnosis for whatever reason. We still don't know what she plans to actually do when she gets these Gnosis back in her hand. Either she's going to try to resurrect the third descender or what have you. We don't know. But we know that she was in love with the third descender and had a child with the third descender. He got killed and made into Gnosis for the Heavenly Principles. And of course, she clearly lost her child as well. So this explains why she has no love left for her people. More than likely because she lost the things that she loved dearly. Or this is one of the many reasons why she lost her love for her people. Right? We cannot solely base the actions of the Sarisa purely off of what the Fatui do, especially considering the fact that, one, the Fatuis, these members of the Fatui, they all operate independently. They're not really ordered, the Harbingers are ordered by the Sarisa, yo, go get the Gnosis, basically. And that you can go do whatever the fuck you want to do, but as long as you get these Gnosis, I don't give a fuck. Right? So there's that. Each Fatui Harbinger goes about their different ways of getting the Gnosis. Some of them have used extreme methods, others have used subtle methods that don't require an extreme thing to do. El Senora, I guess attacking Venti is extreme. She got the Gnosis like that. Then the whole thing with the Electro Gnosis, that was obtained by Scaramouche after Yamiko saves the traveler from Scaramouche and traded something valuable. Traded the Gnosis to save the traveler's life. That's why he got it. And then later on, the Gnosis gets in the hands of Nahida, who she gives it up to Dottore in exchange for him destroying his segments. And so that's how it goes back to the Sarisa inevitably. Dendrognosis was given up to Dottore as well because it was exchanged for valuable knowledge that Nahida did not know about, given to her by Dottore about relate to the false sky. That's why that was gone. Hydrognosis was given back, or rather given up to Arlecchino because Skirk warned Neuvillette that, yo, it'll be dangerous to keep something like this around, bro. You better toss that shit. And he was like, all right, I'll take that into consideration, and then followed on that and gave it up to Arlecchino when he saw her again. That's why they got that one. Pyrognosis, we do not know where the fuck the Pyrognosis is. For all we know, it's either destroyed or in some way, shape, or form a iteration or a segment of Dottore still exists and managed to get that Gnosis back to the Sarisa. We'll wait and see what happens with that, unless it's just blatantly destroyed. So yeah, they've gotten their hands on the Gnosis in some way, shape, or form, or not at all, whether using extreme means or subtle means.
And even more so, even how she may look like. I mean, think back to the early days of the game. Whether we're talking about Signora's appearance in Mondstadt, where she openly threatened the Narcon, or Child's actions in Lear, where he unleashed a god that nearly led to the destruction of an entire nation.
Oh yeah, the Dendrognosis. This was I said Dendro. The Geognosis. Almost forgot about this one. Geognosis was given up to El Senora by Zhongli because Zhongli, honestly, we can't even blame the Sarita for this, what happened in Li Wei. We need to blame Zhongli for this one, technically speaking. Zhongli literally let the situation get this diabolical because he wanted to see if whether or not humanity would be able to handle itself without him coming to defend them. He literally tells us that, yo, if the situation got dire, I would have came in and, put a stop to it. So he allowed this to happen. I wouldn't put the blame on this, like, what this horrible action of like Li Wei being flooded or whatever, or potentially almost being flooded and destroyed by Osial, the overlord of the vortex. I wouldn't really pin this blame on the Fatui. I pinned it on Zhongli because he let it get that far, so that he can then give up his gnosis because he has a contract with the Sarita. Vinci also knows the Sarita personally, but like she don't fuck with him either.
Or the event in Inazuma, where the Fatui fanned the flames of war by supplying weapons and delusions to both sides of the conflict, something that realistically probably resulted in thousands, if not tens of thousands of additional deaths. I mean, simply by looking at the actions of the Fatui, we naturally begin to build a very distinct image of the Sarita herself. I mean, someone who is the head of these people who commit all...
Oh, wow, he's... Okay, so he's only focusing on these extreme side of the Fatui, but he's not going to mention what we saw in Natlan with the Fatui? Where we saw the Fatui literally sacrificing their lives to help the people of Natlan fight off the Abyss. Look, I'm all for like showing all the sides of the Fatui and what they did and haven't done. But like, if we're gonna talk about the Fatui painting an image of the Sarita herself by their actions, we also need to show the Fatui saving the people of Natlan, or sacrificing their lives to the people of Natlan, even though they didn't have to do it, but they did anyway. You have Fatui bodies dropped dead across the entirety of Natlan during Act 4. Them niggas did not come back to life, by the way. They stayed dead. So if we're gonna play this card of like, their actions are paints a picture for us, the player, that means we see that the Sarita is willing to get her hands dirty to get what she wants, but she's also willing to lend a helping hand to, for the greater good, which one could argue that what she's doing is for the greater good, from freeing humanity from the shackles of the heavenly principles, who has been proven time and time again not to be this benevolent God that they paint themselves out to be to humanity and to the rest of the world, whether through devout worshippers of the old or in the Book of Sun and Moon, how it paints Phanes as this benevolent being when he's really not. And what we learned in Nodcry related to the heavenly principles, and how this nigga started tweaking the fuck out and then decided to take the Moon Sisters' power and their entire planet.
All these atrocities must be a tyrant, a psychopath even, or at the very least someone who is plainly evil, someone with no regard for human life, someone willing to say or do absolutely anything to achieve their goals. And honestly, it wasn't hard to picture a character like that. I mean, the image that comes to mind is someone like Novora from Woven Waves if you gave her an ice aesthetic, someone who is always smiling, always scheming, someone with an unsettling mix of childishness and calculation.
Yeah, but unfortunately for you, that's not what they were depicting with the Sarita. They weren't depicting the Sarita as this absolute fucking villainous bitch that's just doing this shit just for shits and giggles because she enjoys it. We literally were told why she's even doing this from the Teyvat teaser trailer, which, let's play this again. What did they say about her as an Archon? Let's listen.
Her followers hope only to be on her side when the day of her rebellion against the divine comes at last.
Her day of rebellion against the divine comes at last. AKA she seeks to rebel against Celestia, her main opposition. And we know even more reason for why she's doing it. It's not just because, I want to conquer the world like every other fucking villain. She's doing it for what? Because she lost her man and her child thanks to the actions of the heavenly principles, clearly. So we understand why she's moving the way she's moving.
calculated malice that immediately tells you that this is not a person to be taken lightly. But then fast forward to the Winter Night Lazo trailer and everything changes. I mean, that trailer completely reshaped our perception of the Sarita, because before then, with the exception of Tartaglia, our view of the Fatui Harbingers, and by extension the Sarita herself, was pretty simple. They were evil. And even Child, who as I said was an exception, still came across as more naive and battle crazy than genuinely good. But then the Winter Night Lazo came and showed us a completely different side of this organization. I mean, the first thing we saw was a group of people coming together to mourn the death of one of their own, even though admittedly it was in their own twisted way. But even more importantly, what this trailer further showed us was that these people went as nearly—
I wouldn't say that anything about them mourning the Sarita was twisted in any way. They were mourning her, but unfortunately we had some niggas out here like talking kind of crazy outside of their mouth, or being like, oh, like the mayor was like, all work should stop for half a day to mourn her passing. Actually, why am I even saying that when I can literally just play this shit for y'all? What am I doing? Give me a second, my brother nims and sister nims alike. Let's go ahead and do this the right way, the just way, shall we? Let this bitch load. Let me close this so it doesn't keep hindering my shit. Oh, it closed? Oh, awesome, it closed. Nice. All right, so Genshin. Let's play this, shall we? Let me skip it up.
We are gathered here today to remember our dear comrade. In honor of her sacrifice, all work should halt for half a day as the nation mourns her passing.
Merely half a day? People say the Northland Bank's true currencies are blood and tears. But Mayor, even speaking as a banker, that sounds a little unconscionable.
Rosaline died in a foreign land. But you heartless businessmen and dignitaries, always with a convenient excuse to remain in the comfort of your homeland, you couldn't hope to understand. So why don't you keep your mouths shut? We don't want to make the children cry.
Hey, come on now. Even I don't think this is the right time or place for a fight.
They're clearly mourning the death of her, the death of Rosalind, aka La Senora, obviously. But unfortunately, someone made a comment about, halting work for half a day. The banker of the group was like, only half a day? That's kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Sounds a little unconscionable. Probably because he wants to keep making money regardless of the fact that she's dead. Then Arlecchino responds to that being like, man, shut the fuck up, bro. Y'all niggas always stay comfy in your homeland. Y'all don't understand this shit. Keep your lips shut. Or we gonna make the children cry. And she threw an unnecessary shot towards, Child. And he was like, hey, go on now. We don't need all that. It's the right time and place for the squabble.
Utterly risible.
She sees their behavior and like, bro, what the fuck are we doing? And then, of course, the captain responds.
Though her methods tarnished her honor, Loafalta's sacrifice is a great pity. Her loss shall not hinder our progress. But Dottore...
And of course, they're still talking about business related to, these gnosis. In particular, they were wondering, what the fuck is the electronosis? Yo, Dottore, speak up, fool. And then he proceeds to speak. And then, blah, 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 blah. Actually, let me play and let him hear him talk.
What of Scaramouche and the Gnosis from Inazuma?
Conventional wisdom holds that divine knowledge cannot be rationally comprehended. After conquering the divine gaze, he will make his next move.
It's time to end tonight's foolish theatrics.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Piero, I'm pretty sure that's his name. Piero probably got the best voice out of all the Harbingers. Let's be fucking for real. This nigga's voice is immaculate.
Right now, you have no captive audience. Let every worthy sacrifice be carved in ice.
It was so crazy is he comes into the room and tells these niggas to shut the fuck up. Basically, keep them lips shut. It's time. We're mourning one of our Harbingers that we lost. So keep them lips shut. Bow your head respectfully. Now let's say these final prayers, niggas. Anyway.
Let every worthy sacrifice be carved in ice. With this nation, endure for all time. In the name of Her Majesty the Tsaritsa, we will seize authority from the gods. Absolute peace. Such is the gift from the Tsaritsa. Such is Her Majesty's benevolence.
By taking the authority from the gods, aka Thanes and the heavenly principles, and Celestia, those fraudulent gods, guess what? They can actually have true peace. And this is true, because Thanes has absolute control over everything. Where's the video at? Oh, here it is. Let's get back to this.
Nearly united as we had assumed. I mean, what we thought was a single diabolical organization marching under one banner was actually a collection of wildly different individuals who just happened to share a common goal. They were anything but united. Even the hierarchy within this organization almost felt performative, as if it existed more to create the illusion of structure than anything else. First Harbinger, Fifth Harbinger, Ninth Harbinger, these titles almost didn't matter. None of these people felt like the kind of person the other would happily mess with. And every single one of these things, from a storytelling perspective, was good. Because more than anything, it added an incredible amount of nuance to what had previously felt like a very straightforward organization. And as
let's read this. If Genshin Impact is just a chess game, and we do know that the Heavenly Principles is the one who controls Team White, and Tsaritsa, the bishop, is sabotaging the White team's own forces because less pieces on the board, it makes the game dash.
And as a result, it completely changed how we viewed the Tsaritsa herself. I mean, she went from being this one-dimensional evil ruler to becoming an almost unknowable character. I mean, now after watching the
I'd argue that, because the take he's given doesn't really hold weight to me, purely because, one, when we heard about, stuff related to the Tsaritsa, it was nothing painted in some negative light. Actually, let's see if I can pull this up as well. I want to see if I can pull this up. Let's pull this up. Let's see if I can find it. Because Venti and Zhongli's take about the Tsaritsa tells us everything we need to know. Honest to God.
At Windrise, And now, almost in the blink of an eye, the final stop on your journey is just around the corner. Snezhnaya. The Tsaritsa's plans have continued to advance. Now, only the Pyro-Gnosis remains free from her grasp.
But if even the captain couldn't take Malwika's Gnosis by force, I guess we don't need to be concerned about its safety for now. So that's good news, at least.
You wouldn't be taking a dig at someone else's ability to hold on to their Gnosis, now would you, Grandmaster?
Haha, of course not. I'm not one to rub salt in old wounds.
Her Harbingers do often tend to take a rather extreme approach. Just look at Child or Signora. But we would be mistaken to ignore the fact that Signora did not win the Geonosis using force.
Right. You told me about the contract Morak signed with her before his death. You're saying she didn't need to resort to violence in Mondstadt either?
That's right. If she was able to provide a reason convincing enough to persuade Morax, she could have persuaded me no problem. I suppose she just didn't think there was a reason to negotiate. I had just woken up, so I must not have seemed like much of a threat. Honestly, the Gnosis was of no use to me. I didn't care who it belonged to or what means were used to take it. I just knew if I fought her in that moment, the cathedral, perhaps even the entire city, might have become collateral damage.
True. I wouldn't put it past Signora to take civilians as hostages either.
In the end, though, it was those same methods that led to her end. After all, her third target, the Raiden Shogun, wasn't a big negotiator back then. Perhaps Signora's success in Mondstadt and Liyue convinced her that she was a match for the Archon of any nation. You did the right thing. It pained me to see Inazuma as it was back then. I'm glad things have changed since. Of course, now the elite force of Harbingers has quite a few missing from its ranks, so I suspect the Tsaritsa no longer has the means to meddle in other nations like she used to. Who knows? Perhaps a chance to formally meet her in Snezhnaya might come sooner than we think.
Some of our knights remain stationed in Not Cry. If you need help, just say the word, and we'll be there.
Alright, cool. Now let's listen to some of these.
Her Royal Highness, the Tsaritsa, is actually a gentle soul.
Hold up. Let's listen to these voice lines from these characters that know the Tsaritsa personally. Let's listen to these.
Royal Highness, the Tsaritsa, is actually a gentle soul. Too gentle, in fact. And that's why she had to harden herself. Likewise, she declared war against the whole world only because she dreams of peace. And because she made an enemy of the world. I had the chance to become acquainted with you.
Everyone praises her for her kindness and benevolence. But they forget that love is also a form of sin. What if she's just trying to compensate for something?
Indeed, these are decorations.
I mean, those first two voice lines for these characters, yes, when it came down to obviously Columbina, these niggas were wrong about Columbina. Well, more so Child was wrong about Columbina in comparison to the Wanderer, I would argue. No, not both of them kind of were wrong. Wanderer is kind of like slightly wrong. Anyway, nonetheless. But these two have met the Tsaritsa blatantly, and they more than likely have been surrounded by people who glaze the fuck out of the Tsaritsa. I'm talking slobbing on the knob type glaze the Tsaritsa, right? And we just heard it from these two. And also the lines that they say about the Tsaritsa is true. Because one, we know that Child... Wait, actually, let's listen to what Child said.
Decorations used in the rite of parting. The seven...
Highness, the Tsaritsa, is actually a gentle soul. Too gentle, in fact. And that's why she had to harden herself. Likewise, she declared war against the whole world only because she dreams of peace.
This clearly is true when she's trying to, seize control or strip control or authority away from the Heavenly Principles, aka Phanes and Celestia as a whole, because of the shit that they did, obviously, to her lover and her child. So that makes sense. And when Wanderer was like, oh, she's trying to compensate for something, clearly she's trying to compensate for the fact that she lost her child and her man. So it makes even more sense. It had to become an enemy to the world so that she can get her hands on this fucking Gnosis. Well, now what Zhongli says about
and
her?
Because she made an enemy of sin. What if she's just trying to compensate for something?
Indeed, these are decorations used in the rite of parting. The 7 kites represent the 7. The design of this kite displays a firm grasp on the cyclicality and eternity so dear to the Electro-Archon. These markings of tree and leaf pay due honor to wisdom in the passage of time. All this on a single kite. Truly astonishing. Justice flows across the surface of the waters. War rages like a flame, as does that which the Cryo-Archon once... Yes. These details are masterfully done.
Though she may be the way she is now, she was once the warmest of us. You did it! You blew away the ice and snow! You exceeded every poem I've ever written and wrote a story even I never dared to imagine. Barnabas has an eye for people. Let's have a big feast tonight to celebrate! Let's bring her along too, because I want something cold to drink.
So, I know one of those voice lines was from the closed beta, but as we heard these voice lines from all 4 of these characters, they're as accurate as possible to what we know about the streets, especially what we learned from like artifact information. For example, the material used to level up characters, right? In Genshin, the crystal things. Each one of them talks about each respective region and their god in particular. The one for Cryo talks about the Cryo-Archon and her past. Excuse me, 1 second. Sorry about that. I had to go grab my controller. Because I gotta log in to Genshin so I can read this fucking boss map material. Oh, actually, I don't really need to log in Genshin, do I? Technically, I don't need to. Literally gonna just do it here. But I forgot what the fucking the gym is called. Let's see if I can try to find it at least. Genshin Impact Cryo Jade lore search. Here it is. Oh, are heavily tied to the tragic lore of the Cryo Archon, the Sarita, and her overarching rebellion against Celestia. Oh shit, may even get this. Okay, the cryo gemstone flavor text outline a divine being who was once the god of love, but lost all her warmth following a tragedy, often theorized to be the cataclysm events 500 years ago. The text states that she has no love left for her people, leading to them to follow her out of mutual desire to rebel against the divine. The theory of the Gnosis lore from in-game text suggests that the Gnosis are carved up pieces of the third descender, because the Sarita is attempting to collect all the Gnosis theories and lore discussion on platforms like blah blah blah. Speculate she is not just using them as a weapon, but attempting to resurrect a lost betrothed or loved one. Let me click on this. Shit, it's not gonna break it down fast to what I'm trying to find out of it. Hot damn. Where's the text for the fucking thing? Where's that at? I need like the text, the info that we get from it. Is this motherfucker not gonna show it? Oh, hold on, what's this? Description. Let me. So since I got Genshin Impact booted up, I can just probably read the description more better here. Oh, actually, I guess I can click the whole description here. Anyway, let's see. Hopefully this damn thing boots up fast. Okay. Nothing seems to have happened, so I guess I'll be reading it from the game because I just booted up the fucking game. So let me see if I can read this flavor text. Oh, actually, I may have to go inside my inventory bag to read it out loud, actually. Because just going to that other thing, I don't think it's going to work. Let's see. Where is the material? Oh. Shit, there's no deeper thing to read. Hot damn. Shit, I gotta read it as is then. There's no more extra information that I can extrapolate from it. So it's basically to say it's the same thing that's on the screen right now. Sorry. To also have you shoulder the grievances of the world. Since you could endure my bitter cold, you must have the desire to burn, then burn away the old world for me. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sarita is a little suicidal as well. That'd be interesting. Anyway, let's get back to this video. And continue forth. I know I'm kind of like dragging this out a little bit.
The trailer, you could project any personality onto her. She could be whimsical yet quietly detached like Child. She could be cold and indifferent like Sandrone. She could be hateful and resentful like Arlecchino. She could be calculating and manipulative like
Hateful and resentful like Arlecchino. I don't get hateful from Arlecchino nor resentful. I don't get those two traits from Arlecchino, especially what they presented to us about her character. We've only seen her act that way in certain instances, but that's not like her default personality trait. I don't know about all that.
Different like Sandrone. She could be hateful and resentful like Arlecchino. She could be calculating and manipulative like Pantalone. She could be downright psychopathic like Dottore. She could be an honorable leader like Capitano. Or she could be completely detached from everything happening around her like Colombina. The point is, the Winter Nights Lazo trailer dramatically expanded the possibilities. Not only did it generate an unbelievable amount of hype for Sumeru and for Genshin Impact as a whole by finally showing us the Fatsui Harbingers, but it also transformed the Sarita from a character we thought we understood into someone we could not predict at all. I mean, after that trailer, she could have have been almost anyone and somehow it would have made sense. But here is where things get very interesting, because even though the game had now shown us that the Sarita could be almost anyone, that the possibilities were practically endless, I still think there was a very specific image that both I and probably you watching this video had in your head. And I think that's because across anime as a whole, there are certain character archetypes that almost anyone who's watched enough anime can immediately picture the moments they're mentioned. And one of the most generic, even among the list of generic archetypes, is the Ice Queen. The one thing we understand the Sarita to be, I mean the image, and even more so, the personality of the Ice Queen is so deeply ingrained in my head that it's honestly difficult to imagine anything else. We've seen this archetype over and over again. The cold, calculating woman whose personality is just as icy as her abilities. The person whose emotional distance is usually the result of some tragic past. I mean, you know the character already. A picture is already forming in your head. That character who slowly opens up over time after someone, usually the
fact that he has as death on here, as if this is what the Sarita could have been, which is true, she could have been this, but after everything we've learned about her and through different pieces of lore and whatnot, it wouldn't even have made sense for her to be some psychopathic cold ass bitch to begin with. It just wouldn't have made sense.
The male protagonist manages to break through that frozen exterior and bring a little warmth back into her life. I mean, this is one of the most overused tropes in anime. But what is even more interesting is that it is not just the personality that is easy to picture, it is the design. The white hair, the lifeless eyes, the emotionless stare. And if she's royalty, you can probably even imagine the outfits. Something elegant and extravagant that somehow contrasts with, while also perfectly complementing her cold demeanor. Jewels all over her outfits, a pointy blue crown because, well, she's the Ice Queen. Ice is usually depicted in anime as pointy blue icicles. That's just what an Ice Queen looks like. And when
I mean, just in general, I mean, because ice is ice.
it came to the Sarita, especially after realizing that she fits so neatly into this anime archetype, Genshin really had its work cut out for it from, as I said at the start of this video, a design perspective. Because this wasn't just another character. This was a character who has been built up for 6 years. A character whose subordinates, the Harbingers, and whose pairs, the other Archons, had given us some of the best narratives, some of the strongest introductions, some of the greatest character moments in the entire game. I mean, everything surrounding the Sarita had consistently been exceptional. So finally seeing how Genshin chose to design this 6-year-old looming figure. And well, if you came away from that review feeling just a little disappointed, I think that is a completely understandable reaction.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. Look, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but everyone's opinion can also be fucking wrong. If you come out of that upset that she's not some evil, vindictive woman, you already was off the base to begin with. Because every piece of lore that we got related to the Sarita literally said otherwise. Sorry to tell you.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the Sarita looks good. As a Genshin character, she's designed well enough to, at the very least, stand out. But what has to be understood is that there is a reason this artist on Twitter was able to almost perfectly replicate the Sarita design months before she was officially revealed. There's a reason why I could go to ChatGPT and type something as simple as, create a generic anime Ice Queen who is...
So we're going to be like, oh, because of the fact that we can put in, oh, Ice Queen into the fucking AI, therefore her character design is bad? What? Is this the logic we're running on? Because by that same sense of logic, this person's artwork could have AI generated in the AI generated chat GPT thing. Let's not sit here and play this game. No, we're not about to sit here and be like, oh, well, if I put in Ice Queen in the fucking anime style in the chat GPT, I would get a 1-to-1 at Ice Queen thing of this. And it's like, well, no shit. You want to know why that's going to be the case? Because the chat GPT has to extrapolate this fucking information about the Ice Queen design from other versions and depictions of this quote-unquote Ice Queen to then put it into the fucking machine to then generate it. Actually, hold up. Let me do this. Let's back this bitch up. Yeah. Chronicles of Narn. Yeah? I don't know if I even spelled that shit right. Chronicles of Narnia. Here we go. Y'all remember this movie? Let's search Ice Queen. What was she? The Ice Queen? The Ice Witch? I don't even know what the fuck she was. Oh, I guess she was just the Ice Queen. Oh no, she was the White Witch. The Ice Witch. They put some images up. Okay. Literally, the AI chat GPT will have to pull from these right here just to generate the design of the Ice Queen. Literal fucking lay. Bro, I actually forgot how good these movies were. I actually enjoyed the fuck out of these movies. I need to rewatch these Narnia movies, actually. I need to find somewhere to rewatch this shit. But nonetheless, if we're really about to sit here and jump the gun to be like, oh, well, because someone drew their iteration of what she would look like, and the chat GPT generated their iteration of what she looked like, therefore her character design is bad. It's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Everyone can do their own depiction of the Ice Queen thing, stereotype, trope, or what have you. And you would have similar design elements, or just designs overall, or just have, yeah, I was correct with both things I said. So to sit here and be like her character design is bad based off the fact that people could think of what she would look like, it'll be like, okay, so that means you want her to not look like the Ice Queen that the story has been painting her to be. You want her to look something else. I'm gonna say this right now. If the Sarisa dressed like someone from fucking Natland with skin all exposed, beef patty abs, this, that, and the third, niggas would be like, bro, this shit does not fit the description that we've gotten of the Sarisa all this time. Why the fuck does she look like a beefcake? Why the fuck is she having so much exposed skin? They keep referring to the Sarisa as Her Majesty. So why the fuck did she dress like a street punk? Could you imagine if they did that instead? To subvert expectations of the Ice Queen trope? It would be terrible.
Twitter was able to almost perfectly replicate the Sarita design months.
The way their face and the way her hair falls on her shoulder is nearly identical. The artist had a vision from the future. You cannot convince me otherwise. Yeah, because this nigga was using the Hoyoverse art style and put together, maybe this is what she'll look like if we actually sit here and be in the mindset of the artist designing the character. And boom, the person obviously was damn near one-to-one perfect about it. Unless we're about to sit here and argue that fucking the devs stole this design and then changed it up a little bit for her character release. Which is such a humongous stretch, considering the fact that Genshin's story was already written and completed years before the game even came out.
Months before she was officially revealed. There's a reason why
I can't wait for those design. What's those things called? The concept design, the concept art designs for the Sarita. I can't wait for those to come out so we can see what other design ideas they had for the Sarita before they decided, we're gonna go with this one.
Go to ChatGPT and type something as simple as create a generic anime Ice Queen who is cold and uncaring and get this image as a result. And then add in make her color scheme blue and give her the aesthetic of a royal queen and getting this. Now obviously neither image is a one-to-one recreation of the Sarita's final design, but when you look at them, it is hard to deny that the resemblance is uncanny. But here's the thing, even though it's a little
That's aesthetics, stupid! That's what called aesthetics are. What are we talking about? The aesthetic of the Ice Queen, you literally had to put it in the fucking AI generator. So guess what? When it comes out the other side, of course it's gonna look damn near like her because you put in the aesthetics that she has, that damn near every other Ice Queen has in fiction. What are we talking about? Talking about her design is a disappointment because you could tell what they were gonna do with it? What? When a character is called an Ice Queen, obviously, you already have an expectation of what they will look like in your head. And guess what? She fits the expectation of an Ice Queen that niggas thought she would look like. What is the issue here? To literally paint it as, oh wow, how disappointing. It's fucking retarded as shit. This tells me niggas don't know what the fuck they want out of Genshin characters. That's what that tells me. That tells me y'all are complaining about anything at this point. There is no actual real criticism to be had about these character designs. It's just bitching for the sake of bitching because you can. Not because you actually have a valid critique for the character design. That's what this is.
Disappointing that a character as unbelievably hyped as the Sarita ended up following such a familiar aesthetic.
There's nothing wrong with that. Oh my God. God forbid something follows an aesthetic that we've seen all the time in fiction. God forbid. Genuinely. Like this whole idea that, following the same type of like aesthetic for the Ice Queen is such a bad thing. No, it's not as a bad thing. That's a subjective opinion being pushed as fact that it's a bad thing to follow the trend of a character design being the same. Bruh, I promise you this. Y'all niggas would not be saying this shit if this was a Natlan character. I promise you this. If you typed up female war god in the description of a chat GPT and then was like, why doesn't Mavwika look like this? We wouldn't be having this conversation. Or rather, we would be having this conversation. Because people were upset of the fact that, guess what? Mavwika didn't look like a war god. She didn't look like a god of war in her skin-tight ass outfit. That's what happens when, guess what? You don't follow the trend of logic, the trend or the aesthetic trend of a war goddess. People did not like Mavwika's design in mass because of that. Well, that's one of the reasons. But I can guarantee that was a major reason. The Sarita following the aesthetic of Ice Queen is objectively a good thing. Because if they didn't follow the aesthetic and took a left turn, and it was something that looked like a Natlan character, or if she looked like a Sumerian character, or if she looked like a Mondstadt character, we would be having an issue right now. People would be bitching in mass about why the fuck does she not look like an Ice Queen, despite the fact all her aesthetics scream Ice Queen.
By itself isn't necessarily a problem. More than anything, because this archetype can work. And a great example of this is Hiyuki from Wuthering Waves. I mean, appearance-wise, she's another textbook anime Ice Queen. White hair, cold stare, calm calculating demeanor. She fits the archetype almost perfectly. But what we also understand about this character is that she also works incredibly well within the context of her story. I mean, yes, Wuthering Waves leans into the classic tragic backstory that usually comes with this type of character. But despite that, Hiyuki still feels compassionate when the story calls for it, enjoyable when the moment allows it, absolutely badass when she needs to be, and overall just a...
Unfortunately for us, we have yet to see the Sarita in the story to even come to the same conclusion. So you being propping up Hiyuki for this, that's cool and all, but you can't sit here and be like, oh, the Sarita is bad because we don't see this out of her. It's like, cause that's how he's painting it before we even get to there. He's kind of painting it like that, and it's like, brother, we haven't even seen her in the story enough to even know if she had these type of feelings, or if all her feelings she's closed off entirely. Shoot, you know what's another example of the Ice Queen in Genshin Impact? Literally fucking Skirk, for crying out loud. Skirk damn near falls in lines with the aesthetic of the Ice Queen. Let me put this up. Skirk damn near, like I said earlier, Skirk damn near follows the line of logic of the Ice Queen. She's cold, she's distant, her emotions are detached because of the trauma she experienced, and because she was taught by her master to like throw your feelings to the side, only focus on training, get stronger, damn it, stronger. Shoot, bitch, are you lifting them weights properly? Lift them fucking weights. Did I tell you you can stop swinging your fucking sword? You better swing that shit till your arms fall off. Keep swinging, damn it. Oh, today, this month is your period month? Oh, that's very interesting. Let me tell you something. I don't give a fuck, Skirk. Keep swinging, damn it. You better be bleeding from top to bottom. I'm not buying you tampons either. Fuck that. You better walk through this entire month 10 toes. Nothing more, nothing less. If I so much as see you fall to the floor, I'm slapping you. Yes, I'm being extreme. But that's damn near what happened to her in her training with, her master, Surdology. Damn near. And she still fits the aesthetic of Ice Queen. If she did not fit this aesthetic at all, and she looked like some eldritch fucking horror, which, where's those concept art designs that people had of Skirk? Being like, oh, why didn't they go with this eldritch horror looking design for Skirk that they had in the concept art? Because one, it wouldn't fucking fit the aesthetic of Skirk. That's one. It wouldn't fit the aesthetic of the Ice Queen. That's two. And three, it just doesn't make sense in context because there is no character in the game that looks like none of that fucking... Not even enemy type. We don't even have an enemy type in the game that even looks like that concept art. Oh, here it is. Concept art. But, bro, just look at this concept art design. Oh, y'all can't see from there. Shit. Okay, here we go. Here's more. Oh, this is Skirk redesign. Never mind. Again, look at the aesthetic of this. Does this look like a Genshin character, or does this look like a character from Honkai Impact 3rd? Let's keep scrolling. This is I think this is one of her concept arts right here. I believe so. I think this is one of them. Oh, this is another Skirk leaked concept art. Again, it doesn't even fit Genshin's aesthetic and design for the Abyss at all. It's so off base. This, just as much, does not fit the aesthetic of Genshin Impact when it comes down to the Abyss thing. Do you look at her outfit? Does this look like a Genshin character design to you, or does this look like a character from Honkai Impact 3rd, for crying out loud? Again, same shit. Honkai Impact 3rd ass design. Which is nothing wrong with Honkai Impact 3rd, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it, right? But acting like we should have got this Honkai Impact 3rd character design and placed in Genshin Impact, it just wouldn't make sense. Okay, it just doesn't match the aesthetic. Anyway, back to the video.
A genuine fascinating character. I mean, she's someone I imagine every single Wooden Waste player would be excited to see again once we actually go into Ashinohara. So this is proof that as generic as this archetype may be, it absolutely can work. But the real question right now is, can Genshin make this work? I mean, what has Genshin shown us so far about the kind
Yes, they can make it work. Again, Skirk fucking exists. She's the second closest thing in the whole game to an Ice Queen. Literally. You're sitting here talking as if they can't do it. We literally saw it with Skirk's Story Quest. Skirk's Story Quest literally was that. She had to literally be like, yo, you got to embrace your fucking emotions, because you not embracing your emotions is literally holding you fucking back from your true power. And the moment she embraced her emotions, like a person should be doing, guess what? She unlocked her true power. And now, if her master ever spins back, whenever the day comes for him to spin back, she will have the strength to fight back against him. And if she needs to call for extra help, guess what? Her two-man mission, known as the Traveler, will be along for the ride for that 2v1. Anyway.
Kind of story the Sarita could be involved in. And even more so, from everything we've experienced throughout the entire game, what can we reasonably assume will become central elements of her story? The one aspect of the story that has the potential to either make or completely break the Sarita as a character. And I think the answer to all these questions comes down to one simple word: consequences. See, Genshin Impact has told all kinds of stories over the 6 years it's been in the gacha space. Some of them have been absolutely phenomenal. Stories that I'd even go as far as to call experiences in and of themselves. While others, not so much, completely forgettable. But one thing that has consistently been present in many of Genshin's biggest stories, especially those involving the most important character, is the issue of consequences. More specifically, the absence of it. And I don't think there's a better...
Consequences have always been there in the game. There has never been an absence of consequence. The problem is people expect these grandiose consequences. Like, oh my god, the planet about to fucking explode type shit. Let's be so fucking for real. That's how it's always been. When people were upset that nothing happened when, guess what, the Hydro Throne was destroyed, people were like, oh man, where's the consequence of that? The consequence was that there will be no more Hydro Archon. That's the consequence. The consequence was the Hydro Dragon Sovereign got his authority back. That's the consequence. Or that's another consequence. And then for the third consequence, when the Heavenly Principles wakes the fuck up eventually and notice that the world has changed from how they designed it or how they left it, they're gonna have an issue immediately. Because guess what? The Gnosis are is the symbol of their authority over Teyvat. And knowing that all the Gnosis is in this one location, something where it's not supposed to be, in the hands of one Archon, when it's not supposed to be like that, because that's not how they designed it, they're going to flip the fuck out. They're going to flip the fuck out when they see Irminsul, the entire tree just gone, burned away, and the only thing left remaining is the fucking roots in the ground. They're going to be like, wait a minute, where's all that data for the Irminsul? Oh, it's in the hands of humanity? Why do they have that? Why are they in possession of this thing that was never meant for them to be in possession of? That's for me to be in possession of, so that I can have things be a certain type of way. Why do they have that? That's the consequence. That's another consequence. To say that there has been an absence of consequence is the biggest lie pushed about Genshin's story. You literally can go back in time for each and every story and find the consequence that we got. Literally. Like, what are we talking about?
Better example of this than the Inazuma storyline. Specifically, the story surrounding A, the Riding Shogun.
Okay, now I'm gonna say this right now. This whole consequence that people expected from the Raiden Shogun is some unrealistic consequence. First and foremost, let's be here. What type of consequence could they have even possibly given to A? Realistically, what type of consequence did they have given to A that would be something grand shaking for her character to receive? Oh, let's throw her in prison for subjugating the nation? Well, that's not going to happen because, one, the people of Inazuma, the majority of the people of Inazuma, literally worship, revere, and respect the Raiden Shogun and believe that what she was doing when it came down to the Vision Hunt Decree was just. Which is why you didn't really see the average citizen opposed against it. The resistance, of course, did. Because most of them were vision bearers who had their visions taken from them. So naturally, they opposed against it. And some of them wanted to be able to leave the nation as well because they didn't want to be stuck solely in Inazuma. They wanted to go live life. But again, what type of consequence could they have possibly given A that would even make sense for a god to have? And who would enact this punishment too? Especially at the time of the story, because we weren't in Fontaine at the time. So what could they have done? Strip her of her title of being an Archon? Well, humanity doesn't have the right to do that. Yaimiko doesn't have the authority to do that either. That would just be A, stripping herself of her title. But honestly, that doesn't really mean nothing, honestly, as a consequence. So what else? What other consequence, realistically, would make sense for Raiden Shogun? The answer is not many. There's not many consequences that you could give to the Raiden Shogun that would make sense for her to receive for, locking down her nation and taking the visions away from the vision bearers of her nation, which did result in the mental crippling of these people who had their vision stolen. And on top of that, we do know that, Kazuha's friend went to go fight the Raiden Shogun before the throne, but she doesn't deserve a consequence for killing him because he stepped into the battleground knowing that if he lost, he would die or he would be executed. Because we literally saw that happen with El Senora. The battle before the throne, either opponent will die or either combatant would die if they lost the fight. So that means the Traveler would have faced the consequence of death if he lost the fight against El Senora or La Senora.
Because see, in case you've forgotten, one of the things that made going into Inazuma so compelling was just how grounded the central conflict was. I mean, Monster was about stopping the dragon from destroying a nation. Lyre was about an ancient god threatening to wipe out an entire harbor. But Inazuma was about a revolution. A revolution born from the Vision Hunt Decree, an order created to strip people of their visions. And we all understand that in Genshin Impact, visions just aren't magical objects. I mean, for adventurers, it's a means of self-defense. For workers, it's their livelihood. For artists, it's their inspiration. For
I don't know about this take about their visions being their livelihood, unless they are. No, actually, no. Their visions are not their livelihood. No, I disagree with that. One, because we have a lot of characters who have a bunch of jobs that have nothing to do with their vision. Yeah, Shang Ling is a chef, but she will always be a chef regardless of if she had a vision or not. Her job as a chef is not dependent on her having a vision. The same thing goes with any character who's an adventurer. Bennett is an adventurer. Him being an adventurer does not hinge on him having his vision or not. That goes for damn near every character in the game. So the idea that a lot of these vision bearers are literally stuck to their vision for means to make money or just make a living for themselves is not true.
adventurers, it's a means of self-defense. For workers, it's their livelihood. For artists, it's their inspiration. For many, it is a part of their very identity. So in many ways, this decree wasn't just taking away people's power, it was stripping them from their freedom. And this very decree was created and enforced by none other than the Raiden Shogun herself. And here's the thing, as a premise, this is phenomenal.
You know, I'm gonna wait till he get into it. Wait.
I mean, before A, we genuinely gotten along with every Archon we'd met. But this time, things were different. For the first time, the Archon of a nation wasn't our ally, she was an enemy. But what made the conflict even more compelling was the nuance behind it. I mean, this wasn't someone acting out of greed or simple malice. In fact, it was the opposite. Everything A did, she did in pursuit of eternity. In her own mind, she genuinely believed she was protecting her people. I mean, yes, her reasoning was quite stupid, but at its core...
Her reasoning was not stupid. She literally explains that her reasoning for doing what she did was because she saw what happened to a nation that strived for more because of their ambition and was wiped off the fucking map, aka Conria. She literally tells us that after we defeat her the second time in that boss fight. She literally tells us that. To further prove this, I'm just going to pull this shit up so that there is no confusion about what the fuck I'm saying. Here it is, right here. 4 years ago.
When lightning flashes, it casts a shadow. My name means shadow. With my blade, I purged all obstacles to progress. And yet, something was lost with each step forward. In the end, I even lost her. The tales are still retold in the shade of every Thunder Sakura. But the wounds left on our nation by that terrible loss still ache. Never stop searching, even if only for a brief flash of light. If nothing else, we have the present moment. She said that once. But I've seen a nation stride forward and lose everything to the heavenly principles. Perhaps only if time stands still will the lightning's glow never fade. The present moment is a fragile illusion. Only eternity can bring us closer to the heavenly principles.
Okay, so from learning that, no, what she did was not a stupid reason. It was far from it. She was literally motivated by grief and by fear of what would happen to this nation if it strived forward with their ambition. Because she saw what happened to a nation that strived forward in their ambition. Conria is by definition ambition. Human ambition to the nth the fucking degree. So no, this was not a stupid reason for why she did what she did. Anything but. It was absolutely justified. Yes. Even though it came at the cost of like stripping her people of her freedom, honest to God, what's better? Stripping your people of their freedom or watching the God of gods come and clap the nation and the people there, cursing them and damning them for all eternity because they dared to have, ambition that strived beyond what the God of gods of this world desired for them to have.
It was from a place of love. The problem, however, is that regardless of why she did it, her actions still led to death. Potentially an untold number of deaths. I mean, from the guilty to the innocent. Lives were destroyed because of decisions that ultimately trace back to her. And when you have a story like that, more than the action, more than the spectacle, more than the cutscenes, the one thing people naturally begin looking forward to is the consequences. How does this person answer for what they've done? Do they lose their life? Do they step down from power after realizing they were never fit to rule in the first place? Hell, do they at least acknowledge the full weight of their actions? And then
the thing is, Raiden Shogun did do that. That thing right there, he's saying, oh, did she acknowledge the weight of her actions and her consequences? Yes, she did acknowledge it. She did. She acknowledged where she messed up at and what she planned to do moving forward as the Electro Archon of Inazuma.
and dedicate the rest of their lives to making amends. How does someone atone for something on this scale? And I believe it was with Inazuma, more than any story before or after it, that the community collectively began to recognize one of the biggest weaknesses in Genshin Impact storytelling. The fact that consequences rarely seem to apply, even to the characters responsible for the greatest atrocities, as long as they're playable. Because in the very next story after the Inazuma main story, we found ourselves going on what was essentially a date, eating food and taking—
This is a lie. I'm sorry. I'm calling it for what it is. This right here was the biggest lie pushed about Raiden Shogun's first story quest. They literally claimed that this was a date. It was not a date by any stretch of the imagination. Literally, if you played this story quest in good faith, you know damn well this quest, this first quest, was the steps towards A's character development, going in the right direction and recognizing the flaw in her logic of eternity. Literal fucking Lee. Literally, her understanding or her perception of eternity was being challenged in her first story quest. And then her second story quest cemented that, guess what? Her original view of eternity was bullshit. Her sister's iteration of eternity was actually the version of eternity that she should have been striving for all this fucking time. Literally. To further prove this, we can just pull this bitch up. Hopefully it pulls up Act 1 first. Okay, this pulls up Act 2. Literally, Act 1 is called Reflections of Mortality. Oh my god.
If the Tenryou Commission won't assist in dealing with the thunderstorm...
Let's further prove this. I'm going to prove this even more. We go through 3 different spots. Go from the Dongo Milk to the fucking light novel shop to the, what was it? Place for like the kimono shit. We literally have A recognize that eternity that she was striving for does not make sense at all. Hold on, let me play this part. Is it this one?
Unusual that I should enjoy them too. Miko agrees with me on this. There's nothing like dessert for improving one's mood.
And another thing that homeboy Nigerian perspective is not mentioning is that the Raiden Shogun and A are 2 separate entities sharing the same body. The Raiden Shogun was programmed to follow through with A's iteration of eternity. So it followed through on that and went down an extreme path, while A sat in the background knowing that the Fatui were, trying to like usurp or try to cause chaos in Inazuma, but from A's eyes and her POV, what the Fatui did had no consequence on her path of eternity, aka absolute stagnation. So that's why she didn't do anything to stop them at all, nor did the puppet. Let's keep scrolling. This was the bookstore. Think about probably around right here.
Does he have plans to visit Inazuma? If so, I will instruct one of the commissioners to bring him to me on his arrival. I would very much like to spar with him.
He's a fictional character. He doesn't exist. What about the antagonist?
And I can't deny it.
And that's exactly why we brought you out, to take a look around and get some fresh ideas.
Hold up.
End of story.
A doesn't seem interested in the supporting characters at all. So what do you think of Yae Publishing House's light novels, eh? Do you like the stories we picked?
What I take from these stories is not so much the content itself, but what they represent in terms of the effects of time upon Inazuma. Back when I decided to isolate myself in the plain of Euthymia, there was no Yae Publishing House, and certainly no stories of this kind. In accordance with my wishes, the Shogun did her best to create an eternal nation. A nation that, in theory, should remain entirely unchanged over time. But the fact is that both the food and the stories have changed with time. I disagree with your point of view. That's what I would say if we were still in the plane of euthymia. But the truth is right here in front of my eyes, and I can't deny it.
And that's exactly...
If anything, one could argue that the consequence that Raiden Shogun got was getting a fucking reality check. Literally seeing for her own self in 4K 1000 high definition that her ideal of eternity was literally childish and it was bullshit and would have never worked. Now, if she had the ability to stop time entirely like Ishtaroth, then more than likely her idea of eternity would have made sense and would have, succeeded. But unfortunately, she does not possess such power. So such ideal that she had would never have manifested in reality.
Exactly why we brought you out, to take a look around and get some fresh ideas. Sure, it's not the same as you remember, but one way or another, people are loving life in the present. That's gotta be a good thing, right?
Yes, you're right. I'm wary of any and all change. But I do not wish for my pursuit of eternity to stop human lives from changing for the better. Thank you for inviting me out. This trip has been quite eye-opening for me.
Right? And what was so damning at the time is that another thing about Raiden Shogun's character is that she is a person that believes in the idea of might makes right. AKA, if you're strong and you win, therefore you are in the right. And guess what happened in our boss fight against Raiden Shogun? We beat her. We proved we were stronger than her. Humanity and their will, their ambitions proved that they were stronger than her will, and thus we defeated her. Thus, might makes right. We were the ones in the right. So that's why Raiden Shogun / A surrendered and gave up, because she was wrong entirely. Even proven even more that she was wrong when she sees the reality of everything in front of her, because she had isolated herself away from the world because of the trauma that she experienced, losing her sister, seeing the destruction of this nation, this, that, and the third. It was too much for her to bear witness to. That's why she locked herself away and stayed in stagnation. Right? What was another moment? There was another moment here as well. That's why this whole shit about this first story quest being a date was such a big fucking lie being pushed in the community. Because niggas expected, Raiden Shogun to get a death sentence for what she did. Because she was like a dictator somewhat. This scene right here, with the whole taking a picture of her, was even another instance of showing the Raiden Shogun, why her ideal of eternity was wrong. See, check it. Let's skip forward. Alright.
It's a wrap! Take a look! Here's the photo we took of you.
Wow. This is astonishing. Is it some kind of magic? It seems to be another copy of me. But she doesn't seem to be able to move or talk. I thought it would turn out poorly because I felt rather rigid. But it actually looks more natural than I imagined. The pose is exactly the same, and so is the scenery in the background. I can't imagine how it's achieved.
That's what makes it so special!
Hang on. I'm still struggling to understand this. I need you to explain it again. So, the one in this photo, are you sure it isn't me? If it's not me, then why does she look exactly like me? And if she is me, then who am I?
Okay, that's way above Paimon's head. Over to you, Traveler.
It's a little bit like you and the Shogun.
Hey, that's right! Do you think the Shogun counts as you?
Of course I do. It was never my intention to place control of Inazuma into anybody else's hands.
So then, who...
boom, here we go. This is the reason why she won't give up her position, because she does not believe anyone else is trustworthy to reign over Inazuma. Not even fucking Yaimiko. Yaimiko joked about that shit, and guess what happened? Yaimiko got the craziest death stare that A ever gave her in her life. And she was like, I was just joking, bro. Chill.
Who does that make you, here and now?
Well, I'm still me. There is no doubt about that.
So your existence is singular.
My existence? I think I understand. I am me. There is only one of me. But I can exist in many different forms. It's not important what form I exist in. The Shogun, for example, is one of my forms of existence. The question of whether or not she is me is not determined by any of her components.
In that case, this picture is one of your forms of existence too.
So even I, who seeks eternity, am constantly changing my form of existence. Then, how can I ask Inazuma and everyone who lives here to remain unchanging?
Literally, this quest was giving Raiden Shogun retrospective of her thought process, questioning her ideal of eternity, her form of eternity, and how could she possibly demand the people of Inazuma to fall in line with her version of eternity, which is like unchanging and stagnation, when she herself can't even stay like that, when she created another a robot version of herself to exist and reign over Inazuma, my bad. Wow, she meditates. It's peak, what do we call this? Hypocrisy? And she's recognizing it. She's recognizing the hypocrisy of her own actions in 4K1000, my guy.
Everything I have encountered on this journey with you has been from beyond my existing sphere of knowledge. You've seen a lot of my ignorant side today. Maybe you can't tell, but all this has challenged my understanding of things. Based on what I have seen today, I am forced to accept that Inazuma is a completely different place from the one I remember. But it would be incorrect to conclude from this that the Inazuma of today is no longer Inazuma. Both the Vision Hunt Decree and the statue of the omnipresent God were conceived as a means of bringing about eternity. But if I were really getting closer to eternity, none of this ever would have happened. Perhaps... Perhaps I've been holding on to everything too tightly.
Sounds to Paimon like Ace figured things out. And that means that we've done a really great job as her guides.
AKA helping her character fucking develop, for crying out loud. Anyway, back to this video.
In pictures with the very person that was responsible for this war that just happened. There was no seeming hatred for her by the people that were affected by this war. In fact, it was the opposite. People were only happy to entertain her, to be of service. And like clockwork, we've seen this happen time and time.
Again, he's not mentioning here is that the people of Inazuma revere the Raiden Shogun. The average citizen in Inazuma that had no beef or anything that against the Raiden Shogun or the things she was doing were literally devout followers of her, because they worship her, and that's their leader of their nation. That's their god. They had no issue. They had no beef with her, which is why you don't see them having any hate for her on their faces. Now, if this fucking story quest took place in, let's say, my bad, what you call that place that Kokomi resides in? Hold up, I got the game open right now. What's that place called? Watatsumi Island. Now, if the Raiden Shogun went to Watatsumi Island to show that this whole eternity thing, you know, her idea of it was incorrect, more than likely she would have got nasty looks from everyone in Watatsumi Island. Absolutely. But she wasn't going to get that same look of nasty looks from the people in Inazuma City, because majority of them aligned with what she was doing and had no issue to what she was doing, which is why they don't show no hate or no fear towards her. Well, actually, they don't show no hate towards her. But they do show fear. They do absolutely show fear towards her, like the fucking vendor dude who was shocked to see the Raiden Shogun at his fucking stand, which happened earlier in here. Let's go ahead and play that. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Here?
Isn't the Shogun sick? This is quite sudden.
I appear to have frightened the...
Hold on, let's go back. Let's actually see what the fuck
Changed.
happened.
And so have the vendors. Well, that's to be expected.
It's the Shogun! What is the almighty Shogun doing here?
Isn't the Shogun...
Shoot, if anything, this doesn't sound like they were happy to see her. This sounds like they were shocked to see her walking among the people. Honest to God, this is what this seems like. This doesn't seem like, oh, they were just like, Raiden Shogun, allow me to suck your dick. Oh, like what?
Shogun sick? This is quite sudden.
I appear to have frightened the people.
Well, what did you expect? The almighty Shogun makes an impromptu appearance in town? People are gonna freak out a bit.
Patrolling the streets is the Tenryou Commission's job. The Shogun has a lot of information to process and orders to give out. She doesn't have time to deal with it herself. Additionally, the Shogun has no need of recreation. There would be no need for her to come here just to pass the time or to relax.
Boom. So here's another reason why they're shocked to see her walking the streets. Because she normally does not do that shit. Rarely, if ever, make a public appearance unless it's absolutely necessary. Actually, let me show that vendor boy, the dongle milk nigga. Hello, let me show his reaction to the Raiden Shogun.
Shogun, excuse me.
It's all right. Relax.
Bro, literally, dude was showing absolute fear. He immediately put his hands up and started in a prayer position, being like, Shogun, excuse me. Literally being in shock that the Raiden Shogun is in front of him.
Time again. With Arlecchino, with other playable Fatsui, characters responsible for deaths of their own. Arlecchino especially, the head of the House of the Hearth, an organization that quite literally grooms children into becoming soldiers. Soldiers who, even in the current story we're playing, still continue committing atrocities. I mean, we just finished the version 6.6 story, where Pantalone and Dottore served as our primary antagonists.
Wait a minute, wait. What children out here is committing atrocities? Is he referring to the children of the House of the Hearth? Because right now, they haven't committed any atrocities to speak of. Especially from what we've seen from them in the game. They haven't done any atrocities.
Soldiers who, even in the current story we're playing, still continue committing atrocities. I mean, we just finished the version.
Another thing, too, that needs to be mentioned here, they will only commit acts of atrocities depending on who's the harbinger that they're working under. They don't just go out and just commit atrocities just for the fuck of it. No. Depending on the harbinger depends on whether or not they're going to go and commit an act of atrocity. Dottore sending out his soldiers to go, grab people for experiments, especially children, the experiment on, that's an act of atrocity blatantly. The captain literally sends his soldiers out to go protect the people of Natlan when the Abyss attacked. That's not an atrocity. You see what I'm saying? You see how this is going? Sanjone, for all we know, from everything we've seen from her, there hasn't really been an act of atrocity committed by her, nor the people that serves under her, from what we've seen. So there's that. Arlecchino, really haven't seen much of act of atrocity be committed under her name as the knave of the House of the Hearth. Honest to God. Unless she's out, killing someone who killed one of her children. Unless we're counting that as an act of atrocity. That sounds like get back to me. Who else? Pantalone sent people out to get stuff that he knows can make fucking money, like in Citlali's World Quest, when them bastards were like, yo, give up this paint and whatever, because the boss wants it, because we know we can make some money off this. Can't really call that an act of atrocity, unless we're deeming like stealing as an act of atrocity. It's really not. What else? El Senora. Honestly, I don't know what active atrocity any Fatui has done underneath her name. It's kind of hard to tell unless we count the Fatui trying to stop or get in the way of the Liyue Qixing from fighting back against the whatchamacallit, the Overlord of the Vortex, unless we're counting that as an atrocity. Which kind of hard to count as an atrocity, honestly. But whatever. Child, we haven't seen any Fatui members underneath Child commit any atrocities at all, honestly. Seems like he's been kind of a solo guy the entire time. Wanderer, again, not really seeing much active atrocity be committed by any subordinate of his, when the only thing we've seen of them do is literally gather information from that one limited time event quest when he was out looking for the where the core of the the core of the fucking asteroid or meteorite fell. So there's that. Have I mentioned everybody? I think I mentioned everybody. I don't think I'm missing anybody right now. Yeah, Columbina didn't have no subordinates. Oh no, Columbina did have subordinates, but they just did whatever because they didn't really get any orders from Columbina at all, because she was just like doing her own fucking thing, just wandering about, you could say. And they would just be like there, just being like, okay, so what are we doing here? We're assigned under her, but like we don't know what the fuck to do.
6.6 story, where Pantalone and Dottore served as our primary antagonists. And what you'd come to understand upon playing the story is not only were these two flat-out enemies with no gray area or anything like that, but they were also protected by Fatui soldiers. Our actions were deterred by Fatui soldiers. Soldiers who, more than likely, were raised and molded by the House of the Heart itself. But fortunately for Arlecchino, she's a playable character. And because the story needs her to remain morally grey, we once again find ourselves with a character who faces...
It's so crazy how he's bitching about a morally grey character, when it's like, one, y'all niggas out here bitched about the fact that character... Wait, hold on, let's make this clear. Not too long ago, I reacted to a video about people bitching about the fact that Genshin doesn't have any morally grey characters, or refuse to make morally grey characters, or refuse to make outright villainous characters because they need to make them playable for the game, so that they can be appealing and sell to people, right? But then simultaneously, we get morally grey characters, and it's still a fucking problem. Even the Traveler has done some morally grey, questionable actions. If you played any world quest, literally, the Traveler helps Jet massacre an entire tribe of people in the desert. He doesn't question her. He doesn't try to, convince her not to do it. He goes along with her and body bags everybody in that tribe. No questions asked. All blade, blood. We take ass first, questions later type shit. Which is why, literally, the Traveler told Dottore, yo, I ain't no hero, bro. Because the Traveler has also done morally questionable things as well.
There's virtually no consequences for the things she's done, or in this case, is still doing. Instead, she's presented as one of the Traveler's closest allies, one of their truest friends. So now we come back to the Cryo arc on
ally, yes. Closest friend? Not sure about that, brother.
Herself. The she's done, or in this case, is still doing.
And on top of that, the story literally presents her as a lesser evil in comparison to the knave that existed prior to her, that literally had all the children kill each other to obtain the top seat of like who's the king of the House of the Hearth. Literally, Arlecchino took possession of the House of the Hearth, and now the children don't have to do that anymore. Or no future children of the House of the Hearth needs to be killing each other and body bagging people anymore. Arguably, every Fatui member that we've come across who's a soldier, more than likely, were soldiers that are majorly coming from, grew up, underneath the previous knave rather than the current one, honest to God. Now, who knows? There's probably some exceptions in there. But knowing that Arlecchino has allowed children of the House of the Hearth to literally leave in the past Because we come across in her own story quest, where we come across one of the old children of the House of Hearth. She literally lets them leave if they want to. She doesn't force them to stay. They literally have the option to leave. And she lets them leave, but she just wipes their memories of being in the House of Hearts so they can live their own lives. So if anything, she's presented as a lesser evil rather than someone who doesn't like face any consequences.
Instead, she's presented as one of the Traveler's closest allies, one of their truest friends. So now we come back to the Cryo Archon herself, the Sarita. And honestly, if you thought A's actions were already difficult to overlook, they don't even come close to what the Sarita has enabled. I mean, at least with A, you could argue that she was misguided, that she genuinely didn't understand the consequences of what she was doing. But that argument doesn't work here. I mean, the Sarita is a character who, through her own authority, created the Fatui and empowered them to commit just about every atrocity you can think of. And I mean every atrocity. But ask yourself this, from everything we've seen so far in previous Genshin stories, do you genuinely believe she will face any consequences? I mean, the game has already given us a glimpse of where her story seems to be heading. She is fighting against the Shades. I mean, this is likely the arc where we will finally meet and speak with the Heavenly Principles. We even see
saying that we're going to speak with the Heavenly Principles in this arc of the story is kind of crazy, knowing damn well Conrail still exists and we still have to go there story-wise. So realistically, no, we're not going to talk to the Heavenly Principles. That's absolutely out of left field, thinking that's going to happen. More accurately, we're going to talk to the Shades, not the fucking Heavenly Principles who's still fucking asleep. And in terms of her facing consequences, I'm going to ask this question. Who's going to enact this consequence onto literally the Sarita? Who's going to do that? Who's going to enact this punishment onto her? Is it the Traveler? Possibly. Who else is going to do it? Is it going to be Neuvillette? Is he really about to travel from fucking Fontaine to come to Snezhnaya to enact judgment on her? Which I have Neuvillette as a character on my account, by the way. Let me see what he says about the Sarita. I need to see this, actually. What does he say about the Sarita? What is his POV on her? Oh, wow. He has no POV on her from what I'm looking. Wait, maybe I missed it. Maybe she's titled under Sarita rather than Cryo Archon. Nope. Oh, my goodness. He has nothing on the Sarita at all. There's nothing in his dialogues that speaks about the Sarita. Yeah, so him enacting justice on the Sarita is questionable if he's even going to do it, because Geo, Animo, Electro, and Dendro, he has his eyes on them, but Cryo, not so much. Neuvillette even has something to say about the Pyro Archon as well, but like not in the sense of like enacting judgment against her. So again, like, who's going to actually enact this consequence on her? Who? And in what form should this consequence be taken? Should she be killed? Is that the goal of the consequence that we want? Just the character to die for what they did? Or is it to make amends for what they did? Like, what type of consequence do you truly expect that we're going to get, or is going to be made for the Sarita, if that consequence is not coming from the hands of the Heavenly Principles themselves? Because the Heavenly Principles themselves, without a shadow of a doubt, more than likely would have no issue putting the Cryo Archon in the dirt and the entire nation of Snezhnaya. Let's be so fucking for real. We know that this nigga more than likely will do that shit if he were to wake up during the Snezhnaya chapter. So let's make that clear. But the Shades literally don't seem like they're going to stop her at all. With probably the exception of the Shade of Death, seeing as she knows she has to do her job, and this is just her doing her job. And she's been punished before by the Heavenly Principles by not doing what she's supposed to do. So, with that in mind, she has to do what she has to do. Because, you know, that's her job. Shoot. Honestly, this whole facing consequences for action is kind of hard for characters of such higher tiers of existence to be facing at all. Because it's kind of like, okay, so what exact consequence can you even give to a god? What consequence are you going to give them? Oh, you strip them of their power? I mean, cool, you strip them of their power, but like, that's about it. Unless if that character really cared about their power so fucking greatly, then yeah, the consequence of them being stripped of their power makes sense. But if they never cared for that, that doesn't even make sense to be given to them as a consequence, right? Like what? Generally, to me, it doesn't make any sense at all for a consequence to exist for a being that's literally a god. It's hard for me to I believe in such a thing. Especially when we're looking at, okay, this god did something to humans type shit, rather than this god did an atrocity that's like heaven condemned and, you know, punished said god. Because that's not what's going on here. This is just action, gods making actions and humans being caught in the crossfire of the actions. Unfortunately, honest to God, that's what this is. So it's like, who's going to enact these punishments? Who will? Is it the Traveler? Well, the Traveler never presented themselves as a character who's out enacting justice across the board for every last, you know, person that did something to somebody. Right? Their whole idea isn't like, yo, I'm the symbol of justice, this, that, and the third, and now I'm going to cut down and punish everybody who did wrong. Like, no. So it's like, how exactly can this consequence be enacted? What consequence do we even expect the Sarisa to even be given blatantly that would even make sense for her to have if it's not being killed at the hands of the Heavenly Principles, or being imprisoned by the Heavenly Principles, or by the Shade of Death, or being taken out by the Shade of Death? Literally, there's no consequence that exists that makes sense beyond that. Or better yet, shoot, I'll give a consequence actually that probably would make sense, that she fails entirely in her plan and her rebellion against Celestia / Phanes and the Heavenly Principles. That's the only consequence that would make sense for her character, that she fails outright and everything collapses around her and the entire nation of Sinizhnia gets cooked. That's the only real consequence I see happening that could even potentially be enacted against her, because of her daring to rebel against, you know, the throne of heaven. That's the only real consequence that makes sense to be given to that character. Anything else just doesn't make sense.
Is any consequences. I mean, the game has already given us a glimpse of where her story seems to be heading. She is fighting against the Shades. I mean, this is likely the arc where we will finally...
Also, another thing that needs to be said here as well. Another thing that's more than likely causing this, you could say, I wouldn't call it an absence of consequence, but not these grandiose, heavy-ass consequences that people expect or thinking are going to happen to these characters, right? Like Arlecchino being imprisoned. Well, that's not going to happen because she's a fucking Sinizhnian diplomat, and she didn't commit a crime in Fontaine either, so them arresting her wouldn't make any sense. Now, they did arrest Child because he was deemed guilty by the Epiclese, the Opera Epiclese. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that shit right, but that's the only reason he went to jail. But Arlecchino didn't go to jail, despite the fact that she runs the House of the Hearth, which is an orphanage that, you know, trains the children to be soldiers for the Fatui. Like, again, for punishment for Arlecchino, that wouldn't even make sense. Nothing makes sense unless she's being imprisoned and put on trial by another nation because she broke whatever law in X nation, or put X nation in a dire situation that deserves her to be punished by. Like, let's say, you know, fucking Dottore, who has done multiple atrocities across the board, especially in Sumeru. So him being punished by the Archon of Sumeru, or being exiled out of the academia in Sumeru, makes sense because he did X crime in Sumeru. I don't really see this happening across the board to another nation, or it's like, oh, we're gonna arrest the doctor. And like, huh? Especially with their diplomatic immunity, it's like it's kind of hard for that to happen.
Face any consequences. I mean, the game has already...
like I was about to say earlier, another thing too about the whole lack of consequence thing is this, right? Because I think someone left it in the comments underneath one of my other videos from probably like a couple of days ago, where they were like, because I mentioned the Chinese Communist Party being like, okay, there's only certain things you're allowed to depict in there, that these Chinese games rather only are allowed to depict certain things in their games, right? So because of that, that's more than likely playing a role in the writing for certain characters for being punished for XYZ thing, or just for anything else related to it, would be like something that's LGBT or something that's like propaganda, like that's anti CCP for the Chinese Communist Party, this, that, and the third, such and such, right? Actually, let's pull this up now before I end this reaction, because I'm already going in 1 hour and 43 minutes right now. Let's pull this up. Let's go to all. No, not this. I meant to say China game rules. Okay, here we go. Okay. Chinese video game regulations are among the strictest in the world, heavily enforcing content censorship, rigid playtime, and spending limits for minors, and a mandatory licensing process for game publication. All forms of commercial gambling are restricted and illegal, with the exception of 2 state-run lotteries. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's go here. Content censorship. China lacks an official video game content rating system. The state enforces strict moral and policing guidelines on all games. Censorship. Games must remove excess violence. Excessive corpses must disappear quickly. Pools of blood are banned. Suggestive sexual content and politically sensitive themes. Literally, Inazuma was mostly affected, without a shadow of doubt, affected by this rule right here. Especially knowing the story that they told with Inazuma, with the Raiden Shogun, essentially being a pseudo or a blatant dictator, or is supposed to be a parallel to a dictator, right? Right here, as it reads, politically sensitive themes. So, again, knowing that we're going to get another nation that you could argue is more than likely somewhat similar to the Chinese Communist Party and how they run their government. Granted, it's probably not going to be, it's not one-to-one, obviously, but there's some similarities to be found there, right? More than likely, I do not expect some grand consequence to become of the Cryo Archon for her actions of trying to rebel against the divine. Which honestly could just be like, oh, a commentary of like the Saritsa rebelling against the, or rather, Hoiverse trying to rebel against the Chinese Communist Party, dictating them about what they can and cannot show in their games. Because we know the Chinese Communist Party literally sucks ass. Literally. Talk about ultra restriction of freedom to the nth degree. There is no sense of individuality that exists in China. It's literally the collective. One person get caught out of line, you're cooked. Essentially. Oh, your freedom to bear arms in case your government becomes tyrannical? Oh yeah, you can forget about that. You don't have the right to do that. This, that, and the third. Right? So, this is more than likely the reason why we probably won't see something like that. Granted, Hoiverse has moved itself out, or at least I think the main base for Hoiverse is still in China, but their other bases of operation, they have moved them out of China into places like Singapore, for example. So hopefully that if there is some type of consequence that the Cryo Archon does get, we at least get it displayed to us in the story and it not being like stripped out or removed entirely purely because the Chinese Communist Party doesn't like what they got going on. Granted, I'm pretty sure there's probably a member of the Chinese Communist Party in the company as well. So, again, that may play a role in this and how the story gets affected, because we've seen that happen with Inazuma already.
Giving us a glimpse of where her story seems to be heading. She is fighting against the Shades. I mean, this is likely the arc where we will finally meet and speak with the Heavenly Principles. We even see bits and pieces of her past. We see a child. We see a blank space where her husband should be. We understand fully well that they are part of the tragedy that pushed her into this path in the first place. But what about everybody else? What about all the sons and daughters she either killed or allowed to be killed? I mean, Dotori carried out horrific experiments on children under her banner. What about those children? I mean, if Genshin subverts expectations, and have the Sarita remain an enemy to the Traveler throughout the Shinizneya experience, then all of this will be fine. I mean, we understand that she will face consequences, whether it is through death or any other thing that she deserves. But if the Sarita eventually joins the Traveler's circle of allies, if like Olachino, there comes a point where she starts calling us a true friend, then I believe that more than any cosmic revelation or godly conflict she's involved in, the single biggest factor that would determine whether she's a well-written character is how the story forces her to answer for her crimes. Because
and what's crazy is he's sitting here saying this, but literally this happened to Raiden Shogun as well. She was forced to answer for her twisted idea of eternity and seeing the negative effect that it had on her people, and thus she makes a course correction after the fact in Act 2 of her story quest, which I'm going to show that now. Literally, Raiden Shogun was willing to be stuck in this place.
Saved us all.
Hold up. Let's rewind. She was willing to stay stuck in this place, fighting for eternity. That like stuck here in this underground place. She was willing to have that be her fate, so that the people of Inazuma can just move forward without her. Literally. Hold on, let me play the line.
Evasion is futile. Absurd. Weak. Pathetic. There is no escape. The eye sweeps the land. Torn to oblivion. Euthymia crumbles before.
Have you finally defeated her?
Oh, wrong one. My bad. Let's go back. I clicked the wrong one because we had 2 fights.
To show you my answer. We are both warriors, and the dialogue we must now have shall be conducted by the blade alone.
Wait! The atmosphere in here just took a turn for the worse! Are you alright now?
The discomfort I was experiencing earlier was caused by the Shogun rejecting my continued use of her body. As she indicates, once I started entertaining the idea of change, I became hostile in her eyes. But inside a realm of consciousness, I exist independently of her. She cannot affect me in this way. Though she is a puppet, the Shogun has her own consciousness too. When necessary, she appears here to confront me.
Paimon gets that everyone has their internal battles and stuff, but not like this! It's a bit extreme! Hey, showdown with the Shogun? Never thought we'd see that day!
The rules I set for the Shogun are... No. The Shogun herself is the manifestation of my past ideals. The very foundation stone of eternity. It shall not be easily swayed. I would not try to change her if it wasn't necessary.
Isn't there any other way? Can't you talk it through or something? But they both just want the best for Inazuma.
My form is a symbol of supreme majesty, in which has been vested power over all the realm. It is the cohesive embodiment of all that constitutes the Raiden Shogun. It inherits Ei's pain, the pain of inevitable loss that comes as she moves forward. So too does it inherit her determination to reach eternity. Every action undertaken is for the sake of resisting erosion. Determination, courage, love, hatred, all of these will be degraded and distorted by the incessant flow of time. Only rules shall remain constant for eternity.
Those were my thoughts when I created you. Now, they are towering obstacles that I have no choice but to overcome.
You wish to make yourself my enemy? I am your past, the everlasting law, the guardian of eternity.
And I am she who promised a dream to her subjects. Raiden A.
The dream was that the people of Inazuma will, last eternally. especially during the time of the Cataclysm, where they thought, yo, Inazuma is done for. Everyone in the world is done for. It's over for us.
In the end, even the proud and mighty Oni Maiden was cut down and disgraced. Though your blade has been cleansed of her blood and filth, never shall it shine as brightly as it once did. Illusion shattered!
Like, now that I think about it, speaking of consequence, hold up. Let me push this forward a little bit. Because there's another show that has this whole thing of consequence that exists that I damn near forgot about. Let me pull this up. Oh, actually, literally this. I forgot. This is such a great example. Invincible. Nolan. Here's a consequence a character can receive for doing, atrocities. Not being forgiven for doing such things. That's a prime example. Literally, this. He called Debbie a pet. If y'all remember, for those of you who watch the show, he called Debbie a pet. Let's actually, I don't know if I'm going to get copyright claimed for playing this clip. Which doesn't matter because I don't make money off my channel anyway. But.
Do you want me to go?
Just watch this.
Okay.
Just listen.
I did the unspeakable to you and Mark.
Yep, absolutely.
And then I did it again on Thraxa.
Sure did.
Leaving you and him and Oliver to pick up the pieces.
Absolutely, bro.
Words can't make up for something like that. But when Mark first got his powers, I was terrified.
Yep.
Because I knew it meant everything would change.
Yep, it sure did.
My life with you would change.
It most definitely did.
And I didn't want that to happen.
We know, bro.
But I had a mission to fulfill.
Yes,
a duty to the Viltrum Empire. And it should have been easy.
Yeah, it should have been.
Except I wasn't really a Viltrumite anymore.
Yep.
I'm almost 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
But 20 years with you. 20 years with you made me human.
Yep.
I know forgiveness is earned, not asked for. So I'm not asking for it. But Debbie, I am sorry. I am sorry for the pain, the tears, the anger, the sorrow that I put you through.
Absolutely.
I am sorry for what I did to Mark. For what I did to everyone in Chicago.
It was a bloodbath.
The Guardians, all the Thraxans.
Yep, cooked.
For abandoning Oliver.
Yeah, that was a big move.
I am sorry for all of it, and I regret every moment.
You should.
And I promise you, and Mark, and Oliver, that I will spend the rest of my life trying to repair the damage I did.
Yep.
Repair the damage.
This is her response to it.
You still think you can do anything, don't you? Fix all your problems with your superpowers.
Yep.
This can't be fixed, Nolan. There's no way back from where you are. You murdered people.
Yep.
You extinguished families.
Yep.
You spread misery to the people who loved you most.
Yep, you sure did.
How many people can't sleep at night because every time they close their eyes, they see you? I know what that feels like because I'm one of them.
Yep.
And now you show up here with some bullshit apology about to take my son to a war a million miles away where he could die, and you think you can repair this?
Absolutely. That's crazy.
What do you want, Nolan?
I wanted to say that I was sorry.
You said that. You're still here.
Debbie, I had to see you again.
Fuck you.
Oh, boy.
2 months after you left, you had Oliver with Andres.
Okay, I played enough of that. But as you can see, there's the consequence to his actions was that now the people that he had, formed a bond with don't even trust him anymore. They can't even be in his presence without feeling threatened. From Cecil to the guy who made Omni-Man suits, that dude was literally holding his breath being in the presence of Omni-Man, thinking this man's gonna kill me. Even though Omni-Man had no intention to kill him, he was over here holding his breath, my guy. Being like, oh shit, right? Now, of course, there's more to the whole thing with Debbie and Nolan's relationship, mending and what have you, right? Because the story is still going down that route, just like in the comics. But we got to know how exactly they depict it, if it's going to be completely different from how the comics did it. The comics did it. But nonetheless, right? But in this moment of here and now, right? The forgiveness for what he did to the people of Earth have not been forgiven by nobody. The amount of people that died when he, was throwing Mark around through Chicago, Cecil told him, yeah, here's the number of people who died. There are about 2,000. You said you almost died out there fighting against the Viltrumites, whatever. You almost died about one time. How about you die, 1,999 more times? Then you can get back to me, right? Type shit. They don't even want him on the fucking planet for what he did. But they know that he is one of the only few weapons they have against the Viltrumites if the Viltrumites want to tear this fucking planet up. Right? But again, the consequence for Nolan's action isn't death. The consequence for Nolan's action isn't like him being thrown in prison. The consequence for his action is not being forgiven and not having the same relationship that he had with the people around him that he had prior before, he turned the fuck up in episodes 7 and 8 of season 1 of Invincible. His relationship with his son ain't the same as it used to been. His relationship with Debbie is still not going to be the same as how it used to be. His relationship with Cecil, the dude who made his suits, is not going to be the same anymore after what he did. This is a consequence of his actions. So, if the Cryo Archon were to get a consequence, I expect it to be something along these lines of, no matter what she does or say, it doesn't matter. People are not going to forgive her anyway. And she's content with that. Shoot, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cryo Archon comes out being like, yo, I know my Fatui Harbingers, not all of them, but some of them have done some atrocities and shit in the name of the Fatui or in the name of their own personal goals that they sought to achieve, because I allowed them to do whatever the fuck they want as long as they got me these fucking gnosis. I acknowledge that. But nothing I say or do will mend what they did anyway. So there's no need for me to apologize. Because my apology won't hold any weight. Nothing I do will hold weight to forgive anybody of anything. Forgive me for allowing such things to happen. And I'm content with that. And if I am to perish in my pursuit for my rebellion against Celestia, then let it be. At least I'll be with my son and my husband on the other side, hopefully, right? Type shit. I hope we get something like that from the Sarita, honestly, as a response to don't you think what your Harbingers have done have been a negative to the world or a negative to has done harm to a lot of people? I hope that's our response to it, genuinely. Right? I expect this type of consequence here. Because honest to God, if Nolan were to have died in season 4, against Thrag, it would be, how can I say this? Pretty how's the word I'm looking for? It wouldn't be satisfying if he were to die there, because there's still so much more to his, development process, especially with trying to mend things with the people he hurt most. So him dying would just leave that up in the air, and it'll just be like, man, if they only allowed for him to develop more and not even fix, but at least attempt to show his remorsefulness to the people that he hurt the most. Right? It would have been such a missed opportunity, in my opinion. But nonetheless, this is the type of consequence I expect for the Sarita. Also, who the fuck is going to walk up to the Sarita from another nation being like, oh, well, your harbingers can kidnap so many children, this, that, and the third. What, is it going to be D-Luke? Is D-Luke going to be the one? I'll be actually surprised if it is D-Luke, I ain't gonna lie. Granted, he didn't have beef with the Sarita. He just had beef with the fucking harbinger in particular, so... So that's why he went after his ass, trying to find him. Anyway, I think my point's been made. Let's play the rest of this.
In the entirety of Genshin that she deserves. But if the Sarita eventually joins the Traveler's circle of allies, if like Arlecchino, there comes a point where she starts calling us a true friend, then I believe that more than any cosmic revelation or godly conflict she's involved in, the single biggest factor that would determine whether she's a well-written character is how the story forces her to answer for her crimes. Because in the entirety of Genshin Impact, I don't think there is a single question more important than this one. After 6 years of build-up, what are the consequences of creating the Fatui? And for me, the answer to that question may very well determine whether those 6 years of anticipation were actually worth it. But that
her consequence for creating the Fatui, honestly, there's no real consequence if you think about it, objectively speaking, because she got what she wanted, which was the Gnosis. They haven't been a negative at all to her and anything that she's striving for, aka her rebellion against the divine. They have been objectively a positive thing for her usage so that she can do what she's planning to do. The only negative effect that the Fatui have is on other nations. But even then, that's not stopping her from doing what she seeks to do. Which, ultimately, if we're being honest, her plan to, like, remove the authority that Celestia has over Teyvat and the people of Teyvat is objectively a good thing. Because we're literally being governed. They're literally being governed by a tyrant, essentially, that's arguably worse than her. Let's be fucking for real, because this bastard has wiped out human civilizations that, you know, flourished under their reign because, oh, the Abyss was encroaching. And so I have to wipe that bitch out, like how they did in Shinyu Vale. They dropped that fucking nail on there. Granted, it wasn't entirely destroyed, but guess what? People still lost their homes and whatnot. Or about Dragonspine. There was a whole civilization on Dragonspine. Guess what? The Heavenly Prince was like, drop a nail on that bitch. Because they dared to, like, I guess they found out some important information or some shit. They clapped it. Or there was something Abyss related to Dragonspine. I don't remember. So, y'all correct me in the comment section below. Then what came down to Conria? Why did they clap Conria? Was it solely because they, found out some forbidden knowledge? No, not really. It's mainly because, guess what? They were messing around with the Abyss. The Venster King was messing around with that shit. The people of Conria got caught in the crossfire, and the sinners of Conria were like, yo, we were tempted by that power, and we took it. Absolutely. Are they going to be punished for their crimes? For, like, just allowing the nation to get clapped? No. Well, technically, one of them did, which was Rerir. But, like, the only punishment they could give Rerir, realistically speaking, was literally throwing him back into the moon, the reflection of the moon, and being trapped there for all eternity. So that's the only punishment he truly got. Imprisonment. But, nonetheless, y'all get the point what I'm putting down here. Right? Hopefully y'all do. Anyway, I think I said everything I need to say. This is a lengthy reaction. I was supposed to stream. Well, I'm still going to stream anyway. Probably about an hour from now. Anyway, it's already 2 o'clock in the morning, by the way. Anyway, make sure you like, sub, turn on the notification bell, join my YouTube community Discord, link is on my channel. Check out my yapping topics and yapping reaction content as well. I stream 5 gacha games and 5 non-gacha games here on YouTube and YouTube only. What else? Was there more? I don't think there's anything more for me to say. Anyway, this is KallaTheYapper signing out. Peace. Y'all tell me how you feel about this in the comments below, like I said earlier. And I will see y'all in the next yapping topics, yapping reaction, and live stream here on YouTube and YouTube only. Later. Good night. Peace.